and welcome back to Cowabunga Corner News. In this episode, we have some very, very fun things to explore. And I'm talking about things that are coming out and things that have already been released and things I can't wait to have my hands on. Hi, Donnie. But in doing so, we have brought in a very, very awesome guest, a very talented guest who has helped make it so all of this is possible. I'd like to introduce Trevor from NECA. Please tell us a little bit about yourself.
Hello, my name's Trevor. I'm a toy designer and a sculptor at NECA Toys.
My first question is going to go a little bit before NECA and ask, what inspired you to be an artist?
You know, growing up, I watched a lot of cartoons and I played with a lot of toys. I did not like sports. I like to just sit inside and sculpt things, draw pictures. And yeah, so from a very, very early age, I just, you know, this was like the path for me. It's all I cared about was toys and cartoons. I've no other interests, you know. So there was only one path to take, really. It
worked out for you.
Yeah.
What was your very first professional art job?
Okay, my dad worked at a toy company. You may think there's a connection there. There's not really, but there kind of is. Anyways, he worked for this company, and when I was in like junior high or high school, I did a bunch of designs like for some toys that they were making. It was like a lot of plush, like stuffed animals.
Anything we know of?
Their stuff would show up a lot in TV shows and in movies, like in the background, like in Full House. You might see a couple of their toys. It was all mainly carnival stuff. Like you'd win a prize at a fair or at an amusement park. They made stuff like that. And I did some, like there was a monkey, I don't know, like a bear probably, you know. But like you'd see, every now and then you'd see their stuff on like TV. It would be like every carnival across the country. You know, the company he worked for, their stuff was all around. Anyways, that was like the very first thing.
Did you have any artists that inspired you in the route that you went with your art?
People I didn't know about at the time. The first thing I can remember probably is He-Man toys. At the time, I didn't know that there was like the people behind it. Tony Guerrero did the original He-Man sculpt. He sculpted the first He-Man action figure. Mark Taylor did like a ton of the original concept drawings. And then the people that did all the packaging artwork. Earl Norem was one of them. Yeah, I'm drawing a blank on the other names. Sorry. I know there's like 3 or 4 of them. They're like phenomenal artists. And I couldn't stop staring at like the packaging artwork for like He-Man toys. You know, as a little kid, it was just like it's still fascinating to me today. Those guys are pros.
Did you save your packaging through the years?
I saved some stuff. A lot of stuff I just couldn't wait to tear open the box, you know. Yeah, a lot of it hasn't held up well over time.
When did you first hear of Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles?
I remember the first time like watching one of the commercials come on TV when I was a little kid. I was probably like 7 or 8 years old. I remember just like watching Saturday morning cartoons, like playing with, I probably had like Ghostbusters or Thundercats at the time. I'm playing with toys, and then this Ninja Turtles commercial came on. I had no clue what it was. I hadn't seen the cartoon yet. I just thought like there's these bizarre looking toys, right? And it totally grabbed my attention, and from then on it was all turtles. The first turtle toy my dad bought me was the parachute.
Oh, wow.
And I remember him opening the box and thinking like there was a turtle in there, but it was just like the back of the parachute was like a shell shape, you know. So he got me this thing, and then I had like no turtles to put in it, you know, and I started complaining. So we had to like go out, and I think Raphael was like the first actual turtle action figure that I got.
Who is your favorite turtle?
That's a tough question. I think it's different for every like incarnation. The original movie, I think it's Raph, just because he's got such a powerful like performance, or in the story, you know, is like it's really centered around Raph. I think maybe in the original cartoon, like I think I share like a love for Michelangelo that you do, you know.
Totally a Mikey girl.
The new cartoon, like it might be Donatello. Mikey is awesome in the new cartoon as well, but I think the new cartoon, I think Donatello is like Rob Paulson brings something to that character that no one else has done before. I'm not just like across the board like a Donatello fan or a Raphael fan. it all depends on the story they're telling, and just, I don't know. There's a lot of factors.
What was the first major toy company you worked for?
Palisades Toys. They were started in the late 90s. They're most famous for the Muppet action figures.
Okay, yes, I do know of those.
I was there the last year they were in business, so I got to work on a little bit the tail end of Muppets, and then they were starting to work on Sesame Street. And then the only thing that ever came out was Super Grover, and the company went under at the end of 2005.
Which Muppets did you get to work on?
Most of the Muppet stuff, like the sculpt, I didn't do any sculpting back then. I was like a designer. I did a lot of the packaging photography. I would do some design work. Basically, I was a production assistant. So anything that my boss needed just pulled in many directions.
From what I'm seeing, you are awesome at sculpting. So what was your first sculpting job?
My first sculpting job, I worked for a Halloween company in Columbus, Ohio, and we made big zombies and monsters and all kinds of weird, it was like stuff that would go into an amusement park, like at Halloween. An amusement park would convert, a certain area into like a haunted house, like a big haunted maze or a walk-through kind of thing. So we used to build like all of those things. That was, I guess, my first professional sculpting gig. The first toy I ever sculpted was a Freddy Krueger figure for Mezco Toys.
Okay.
That was my first action figure.
When did you get your job at NECA?
NECA, I started working there in 2010. I was a fan of NECA when these came out. The Horsemen sculpted those. They're amazing. They're like my favorite toys ever. And when NECA announced they were making these, I remember, I was completely blown away. It was so unexpected and just so awesome.
And when you got into NECA, what was your first job that you had to work with for them?
Again, Freddy Krueger. Freddy has kind of haunted my career. It's all fun stuff, work on. Once you're done with the Freddy, you go into Gremlins. And when you're done with Gremlins, you go into Terminator. When you're done with Terminator, then you start working on Predator. And it's just like non-stop, like just awesome. I got to work on Rambo, I got to work on Batman stuff, and then it's like, how does it get better? And then somehow we were able to get the Ninja Turtle license back. And now I've spent the last year and a half working on Ninja Turtles, and it's like, I can't believe it.
Tell us about your first Ninja Turtle gig with NECA.
I had finished sculpting the gremlin for the day. I was like, I put in 8 hours of sculpting or whatever, full day of work. But I was wide awake, and I just wanted to keep going, but I'm kind of sick of looking at gremlins for the day. And so I just started roughing out like a cartoon Ninja Turtle. It was something that I was just going to do for myself, It was like something that like no one else had done, so I was like, I think this would just be a cool, fun little side project. I stayed up for another like 8 or 9 hours just roughing out this cartoon Ninja Turtle all night. And like the sun came up and I had this cool looking little cartoon turtle. So I took a picture of it and I sent it to my boss, Randy. And I was like, look what I worked on last night. And Randy was like, whoa, that is awesome. He's like, that's your new project. Like, finish this and we're going to start like, I think he's like, we could probably do arcade figures like based on this thing. And I was like, holy crap, seriously? And he's like, yep. I was like, okay, cool. I guess I'm working on Ninja Turtles now. So we put the gremlin on, on the shelf. And then really that was in February of 2015, I think. And pretty much since that day, I've really worked on nothing but turtles.
Were you the only one to sculpt on these 4 turtles, or were there others that did weapons or anything for them?
There was a few of us. I did the main body, the heads. There was a couple guys, Anthony and Roger, that worked on some of the weapons. There was Jeff Trapp, who's a phenomenal painter, and he's the one that kind of comes up with that stylized like 8-bit look that we do with we have a huge video game line that we take like a normal figure and then paint it in like old like 8-bit graphics. Like most of the stuff we work on, like Jason and Freddy and Rambo and Gremlins, they all have like crappy Nintendo games from the 80s, but they're super popular and they're beloved games. Like it's a whole thing for us, Yeah, so we've made like a ton of video game figures, and then Randy's always looking for like the next big thing. He saw the sculpt that I had started and he knew like we could do a cool like arcade set.
which came out at San Diego Comic-Con.
Yeah.
Now, are they doing any releases of that arcade set to where fans who missed out at San Diego will ever have the chance to get these?
Sadly, I think it's going to be conventions only. Yeah.
Sorry, people.
I mean,
I know you've been asking.
Hopefully we'll find a way, but I have nothing to do with, the licensing or any, that's a whole other department, right?
You went from doing these arcade turtles to doing something really big.
Yeah.
And how did it progress from doing the cartoony to the realistic?
Well, I finished these. I had an email from Randy one morning that just said, "Good news, just had a meeting with Nick. Henson Turtles are a go. This is your new project." And again, I was just like, I couldn't believe it. I was like, holy crap, this is amazing. Years ago, I had made a Raphael statue just for myself. Kind of like what I had planned on doing for these arcade turtles originally. There really was nothing that existed, like a more high-end, collectible, like movie accurate turtle sculpt.
Yeah.
And it's like, why is that? That's one of my all-time favorite movies. It's an amazing movie. I love it.
And the designs of these turtles are
they're
just,
so good.
Oh.
There's this one photo of Leonardo where he's sitting on a log or something. But there's something about that photo, it looks like a real living, breathing Ninja Turtle. A couple years ago, I was just I think I can, I've learned a lot at NECA, how to sculpt really kind of movie accurate stuff, and I was like, I think I could probably sculpt a Ninja Turtle, a movie accurate, but a little statue. And Randy saw it, and I think he knew based on that, when he emailed me, he's like, take your Raph statue and blow it up. We're gonna make a big quarter scale set of Ninja Turtles. So I think maybe that's what started it, or that's what got me the project,
How many artists are working on the big scale turtles?
Same thing. For Donatello, I sculpted from head to toe, the whole body. Roger Fernandez did all the weapons for all the turtles. Jeff Trapp and John Wardell handled all the paint. Every figure, there's 3 to 4, maybe 5 people involved for, sculpting, painting, the design work, all that stuff.
How many joints does Donatello actually have?
The production's gonna have less than I sculpted in. Due to some costs. I try to trick them out from head to toe. They're so big, and when you get more and more and more pieces, it just adds to the cost. So we had to simplify it. I haven't counted, but I mean, he's got a double ball in his neck. He's got hinges in his shoulders. He has a double hinge elbow. The elbow pads and the knee pads have ball sockets, so they pivot and turn. There's a double ball inside the torso. He's got our standard ball socket, swivel, crotch and hips. There's a hinge in the knees. There's a ball socket in the ankles, hinges in the wrists. And you can swap out the hands. We sculpted lots of extra hands.
We have a total of 5 extra hands instead of 6.
Yeah.
Why are we short one hand or one extra hand?
I sculpted a lot more hands than you see here, and it came down to cost. It's crazy to see it kind of coming together. I started sculpting this in August of 2015, and it's September of 2016 now. It's been 13 months, and we finally have this. You can finally pick it up and play with it, move them around, I don't know, but it's amazing to see it finally come together after a year. So
one of my biggest pet peeves of let's say the Playmates Classic lines,
yeah.
They put that horrible joint right in the plastron, which anyone who watched my review knows I don't like that joint.
Yeah.
This doesn't have that joint.
We try to keep everything as hidden as we possibly can, but the nice thing with just the design of the turtles is with the front and back shell, you can mold the front piece in a kind of a flexible plastic. Just put the joint inside underneath,
Right.
Keep it all hidden. It works well, and the way that the ball joint works is he can still turn his body like a normal human or like the guy in the suit did, you know, and the shell will just kind of move around that. We want it to look as much like he stepped right out of the film.
You've been mentioning you actually do hard sculpts. I know a lot of people these days use ZBrush and computer stuff.
Yeah.
What do you do your sculptures out of?
At NECA, we're probably 90% traditional. We mainly use Castelline. It's a really versatile like wax. You can heat it up so it gets nice and soft, and then you can cool it down so it'll get really hard, so you can like carve into it or sand it down and polish it.
What happens with the original sculpts? Do you get to keep them, or does NECA?
So you sculpt something in Castelline and you send it to the mold maker.
Oh.
He makes a mold, and then you get resin copies back. You can get your original sculpt back, but it usually doesn't survive the molding process. I have a couple gremlin heads. Like, I got the original waxes back, you know, the ears broken off or the horns and little details, like, you know, the silicone just like rips it out, like when you try to demold it.
You've sculpted the four, and we saw what they're going to look like over at Comic-Con.
Sure.
Which of the four is your favorite?
Donatello's great. The other three head sculpts were all done by Jason Fraley, who's like the greatest sculptor that I know. We work with some amazing people, but there's something incredible about Jason. He loves the Henson stuff like I do. He's obsessed with Labyrinth and Dark Crystal and all that stuff. So and he's so good at capturing a likeness and an expression that I knew, like, Jason's got to work on these other heads, you know, and he just nailed it. I could go either way with, like, the Leonardo that he did is so good, and the Raphael is just, I gave him, there was a blurry shot when they're all sitting around April's kitchen table. The way he was just sort of sitting there like gritting his teeth, I thought captured his personality like perfectly. I sent Jason like this blurry reference. I was like, do you think you could like follow this like for, you know, when you're doing the head sculpt? And he just nailed it. It's just amazing. That Raphael is like, it's so good. Probably I'm gonna say Raph is my favorite out of these.
Have you collected all of the toys that you have made?
I have most of them, yeah. I have a lot of them.
Do you have any favorites outside of the Ninja Turtles that you've done?
I feel like the Turtles have just whitewashed everything else that I've worked on. Like, I love that first Freddy that I did, just because it's like, it's kind of a special thing. There's a Batman figure that I worked on that's really cool. I think the Gremlins are some of my favorites too. Like the George Gremlin, it's hard to pick a favorite.
Yeah.
Oh wait, no, it's easy. It's easy to pick a favorite, but
it's narrowed it out of the subject.
I mean, it's like working at NECA is just amazing though, because there's just so much cool stuff. Like every day is like, you know, like I said, it's like you're done with Terminator and then you work on Rambo, and then you're done with that and you work on RoboCop, you know, and it's just, yeah, like every day is great.
Big question. A lot of fans are probably asking.
Okay.
Where will we find him? Online only? Convention only?
This is not convention only, I'm proud to
say. Yay! We're happy about that.
Yeah. Amazon sells them. eBay, stuff on eBay you can get. Big Bad Toy Store. Entertainment Earth.
Do you know the price range of this boy here?
I think it's, most of our quarter scales, they start like ballpark around $99. I bought one off a Big Bad Toy Store for $99, I think.
Do you have your toys up for display so people see them when you come in?
I do have some, yeah. Mainly now it's mostly either Turtles. It's all stuff I'm working on, or I have some Batman stuff out, a couple Hot Toys figures. On my desk I have two monitors, right? For like reference and more reference. And on the top of the one monitor is all the little like ghosts that used to come with the Ghostbusters. And then on the other monitor it's all the sidekicks from Ninja Turtles. So it's like, there's like Joe Eyeball and Screw Loose and the cactus guy, I forget the cactus's name.
There is a set coming out for New York City Comic-Con. And if you're watching this when we're first uploading it, then you know New York City Comic-Con is right around the corner. And that set is sitting right here. This is the foot set. We have Shredder, two normal foot soldiers, and Elite Guard standing right here. And I'm just loving this. Now if I move this, they're going to go backwards. So let's see if I can lay them down slowly. Slowly. Because I gotta show this. It opens up and you can see the toys. See the toys. Yes. Ah! And this is the exclusive set that you can get at New York City Comic Con based on the Mirage set. And there's one other little thing that I really love that's in here. Little Utrum. I am really loving the idea of this. It's based on the Mirage comics, and it completes our set with the turtles here. We finally have a shredder that matches up to the guys. This is what NECA has in store that we know of, so I have to ask, is there anything that can be said about the future of Ninja Turtles with NECA?
We have a lot more planned. That I can tell you, there's a lot more planned. Next year's San Diego exclusive is gonna be really, really cool. I can't wait. I wish I could say more than that.
I am so thrilled right now that I am holding Donatello, even though he doesn't get to stay here.
It's like at, what time is it right now? It's 11:14 at night. As far as I know, this is one of only two in existence, like as we speak.
Wow.
Like full, like I'm talking like just like a finished, like articulated toy, like in plastic.
Was he at Comic-Con or?
No. The ones at Comic-Con were, they were all resin pieces because the tooling wasn't finished yet. So like, right, like the ones at Comic-Con, you couldn't take it off the shelf and like twist a leg or bend anything. Like they weren't playable like these are. Like these are in plastic, you know, so like this is pretty much what the final production is going to be.
I'm holding these up as you talk so that people can see. Now, the straps on the back for the bow staff, was that your idea to have it to where it's tied on?
Yeah, there's a few things I wanted to make sure like that we'd have, you know, if you sculpt the straps, when the bow staff isn't like on the belt, then they just stick out like if they're sculpted. Like you'd almost have to sculpt two different versions, one that holds the bow staff and then one that like it's sculpted so it lays flat, and we couldn't do that. So I just wanted, you know, just use like a simple kind of brown ribbon and then tie it off in a little knot so it can like cinch closed. You can make it like kind of tight to hold it. You can have it a little looser. The timing worked out pretty good because I just got this sample from the factory. You're still here. You haven't left to go back east yet, so it's all worked out.
New York, I'm coming. Is there anything you would like to say to the turtle fans that are enjoying your artwork as they come out as toys?
It's really humbling and flattering that like people seem to like what we're doing. I'm a fan too. Yeah, I don't know. Thanks for enjoying our stuff and playing with it. Please take it out of the box and play with it. Don't just, you know, leave it on your shelf. Like, I mean, we like these figures. We make them to really be fun and playable, and there's so much articulation, and they have extra hands and so, you know, all the accessories, like they're so posable.
One more thing I want to show before we close up is this ooze canister of TCRI with the ooze symbol on there, and it opens up so you can put your own ooze in there. It will be pouring out this little crack though. Yeah, to leak out the crack just like in the movie. It would be awesome to pose like little turtles next to that. We have been having a blast here with all this awesome stuff from NECA, and I'm pretty sure I'm going to be dragging Trevor on the future episodes to help me review some of these toys. And just enjoy getting to go over and find out not just what we know, but hearing the stories behind as we're reviewing. Thank you for watching this episode of Cowabunga Corner, and thank you for joining us. Thank you for having me. It was like a thrill to be here. I'm glad you could. Yeah, it's incredible. We get to find out about all these awesome things. You have a great job. Yeah, I really do. It's an amazing job. I don't know how I got so lucky. We want to share more with you guys in the future, so we'll catch you here next time on Cowabunga Corner.